And we're back, and it is a world of darkness here on the 1710 pack, soon to be heavily customized. I think I'm actually working on that tomorrow, and I am excited for that because we're going to get some things that I have sorely wanted and been missing, particularly a better magnet. This one's not really cutting it. Just trying to see if I can hear myself. Sounds are a little low right now for me. I hope that doesn't make them too bad for you guys. So we're back. You'll notice that everything is dark, as I said. I've been desperately trying to figure out what causes the majority of the frame rate lag. Because I keep saying it's the pack. It's really not the pack. It is this area. And it has been this area. So some things I've done to try and combat that, just real quick. Sorry about that. Why does that keep going out of render, but only, so you can't see it if I look straight at it for some reason, but there's an island up there that's usually covered in vines, and the vines go all the way down, so I wasn't sure if that had something to do with it. Really don't think it did, but I cut those off. We've made ourselves a shovel now to go along with our fancy pickaxe, same modifiers, auto repair, silk touch, some redstone, emerald, stuff like that. The other thing that we did is I started to, obviously I put this little border on the outside, probably going to change up that material at some point here. I went around and I took down all of the torches. And what I sacrificed the resources required to make a magnum torch and spawn one in, because it was just it's really a debugging thing right now. If this helps fairly permanently with the lag, then we'll be good to go. But I've noticed at other bases it's about 50 to 60% higher. So when I'm recording, it's quite a bit lower. But when I'm at when I go to like Taco's base, for example, I get like an average of 130 to 180, and at my base I get like 80. So it's pretty ridiculous. So anyways, we have done a lot of work though. What? Oh no, I'm gonna time out, hold on. So we've worked on our ME system and bringing it back over here. What that means is I've got some crafting terminals. I made a whole bunch of them, and some white cabling to kind of go along with our theme here. I'm probably going to change this texture because I hate it. I've talked about this in the past, particularly when I was doing my mod sauce LP. Really wasn't sure at the time if this caused a lot of lag, and I don't really think it does cause a lot, but it makes it feel like there's some visual stuttering when you're near it, and it's just ridiculous. So the Sortex Fanbird texture pack has a really withdrawn version of this animation, and I like it. It's super slow, but it still changes. This is just a little much, and what causes the stuttering effect, or what it feels like for me, is the way that it jumps between colors. Is you can almost see like little breaks in the frame rate, but it's not actually breaks in the frame rate. It's just the way it looks as it changes to the drastic colors. Anyways, it drives me insane. So I'm gonna probably change that texture, and it won't work or it won't look matchy, but I don't care. We've got full drives. In fact, what I had here was, if you remember, it was 2 ME drives and a couple more, an ME drive with some few extras here. So then we got 10 more drives added because I took the 10 4K drives out of the farm and I replaced them with 64K drives. And usually I just sort of stumble through that process. But this time I decided to get up and do some math. So for 10 64K storage cells, you need quite a bit of things. So let's just fly on up here while we're talking about that. And I've added some more floors, obviously. For 10 64K drives, you need 10 engineering processors, or actually you need 40 engineering processors overall, but for the 10 64K drives strictly, you need 10 engineering processors, 10 quartz glass, 40 glowstone, and 30 16K storage clusters. And for those 30 clusters, you need 120 glowstone, 30 quartz glass, 30 engineering processors, 90 4K storage clusters, or whatever they're called, then 360 redstone, 90 quartz glass, 90 calculation processors, 270 1K segments, which require 1,080 quartz, 1,080 redstone, and 270 logic processors. We'll talk about that guy in a minute. So I did the math. I made a bunch of extra advanced inscribers, put some acceleration cards in them, and went to town. Which means this is now full of 64Ks and not quite at the 65, the first one being full. Which is really interesting because the last ones were all full completely. It's a huge increase. It's massive. I never really realized how big it was. I wonder. Ooh. We will have to make sure we're able to farm all of this stuff. Nah, I really just need a zombie farm then. Anywho, and then the other change we made is we brought a tesseract up here. Ooh, not what I meant to do. A private tesseract, which I always do when I'm on a server, just because it's a bit easier to keep yours distinguished that way and you don't accidentally tap into other people's. Not that I'm worried about anybody tapping into mine, but that's just how I play. This tesseract will manage the power for our farms and our ME system up here, which I'm planning on integrating into the main system as soon as I can figure out the best way to do that. I'll probably have to make a quantum field chamber, but that's going to take a while, or a quantum link chamber. But that means these are all going well. I did break this factory cable accidentally when I was picking up all this stuff, and because of that, you have to go through and you have to redo your handler again. So all of these basically I had to reallocate, and that was annoying. This guy was just testing some stuff out. I never really noticed that, or I never really knew that villagers increase their slots the more you purchase things from them. So I was just kind of messing around with that. Falling back down here. So let's go take a look at our reactor. We were working on this last time. I had a bunch of stuff down here. I've now taken it all out and I put a tesseract down. So this will supply power to everything. The reason I know what I should do. I wonder if I can put a power tap on the bottom. I'll take a look at that. The reason this is like this though, and this is going to be a bit of a bottleneck in our power, because 20,000 RF per tick is great right now for us, but eventually I want that tesseract right up against here. I also want a dimensional transceiver up against up against a tesseract, or this thing, a power tap. There we go. So what we've done over here is I created a little item buffer that's just going to pull out the cyanite, and it will just store it in a barrel down here for now. On this side, this is going to be an item buffer for our yellorium, so it's going to keep the reactor full and pumping, and then that tesseract will obviously supply power. If we dig down underneath a little bit, oof, that's loud. We have an auto workbench from Buildcraft from the factory, which is making we got some yellorite coming through this reactor supply channel, some yellorite essence, making some ore, being processed, and eventually being output into that buffer. So we're good there. All right, so you'll also notice that I have finished the ME controller. I was short a few blocks here. I made a hammer to go mining and try and quickly get some extra skystone. Let me show you where I found. And I didn't feel like using the compass, but I flew and flew and flew to this meteor here, where I grabbed some skystone. This hammer cannot do that. I was trying to make a really fast hammer. So this is a hammer with a slimy tool rod, 1 cobalt and 1 electrum hammerhead, or plate, whatever they're called, and then 1 electrum hammer piece. So let's talk about that for a second. The reason I went with the electrum is because it actually has the fastest mining speed that I could find in this pack. So if we look at the hammerheads, so cobalt has a mining speed of 14, Electrum has a mining speed of 17. Problem is, its mining level is only iron. And I didn't really do the math right, because this one's cobalt. I thought, okay, well, it'll be a cobalt mining level if I include one. And I wasn't really paying attention when I pulled it out. Pulled it out of the tool forge. It now has a redstone mining level. So that sucks. I'm not sure. Apparently, I think if I put a diamond on, it would have... it would go up to obsidian, but I've already put an emerald on, and I don't think you can put them both on together. So that'll be our fancy fast hammer. Not the greatest tool in my arsenal, though. I don't need this steel pickaxe anymore in here. Anything else I don't need this in here, really. These can come out as well. Alright, that should be good for now. So, that's most of what we've done, but let's talk about making the tesseracts really quick. I'll show you. Obviously, I had a lot of tesseracts in there, right? And I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I've placed down. I think I'm probably misappropriating 1. Right? Oh yeah, 6. There's one over here too. So, nope, not, wait, power distribution, no, okay. Okay, so here's the deal. I want this to be my thermal expansion machine room, which means other stuff can be in here, but only so long as it aids the production of thermal expansion based machine production stuffs. Does that make sense? One sec. Alright, so, this was all stuff that is obviously needed to make the tesseract, at least part of it. You'll see I have 2 schematics. So the first one is obviously a magma crucible. Let's go up and get some ender pearls. So ender pearls are annoying because they don't stack very far, right? There we go. So what you do is you throw the ender pearls in the barrel, and this item block very slowly, but not slower than the magma crucible, moves it along. Now, I can upgrade these eventually, and I will. I have a bunch of extra signalum, I just don't want to use it all right now. I'll probably mass produce a bit more first. So the molten enderium, or ender, comes out of the magma crucible and into the resonant ender drum, which I always right click on, but I forget that my Wayla's there is going to bother or make that hard to read. And it does say on Wayla I've got 184,500 millibuckets of like resonant ender. Alright. Oops. So from there, let's just get this back to all, although I don't know that it strictly matters. We've got a fluid conduit that's going from the resonant ender drum into our cyclic assembler, filling it with resonant ender. And then that fluid conduit also comes over and fills our fluid transposer. So here's why. I have a bunch of enderium. I made huge amounts of it, and at least for this point in my playthrough, I made none. And the first time I made some, I made a batch of like 4 stacks, something like that. So for what am I making again? Enderium, you need silver, you need a couple stacks of pulverized tin. Do you not? Oh, you know what? I ran out of the pulverized tin. And you need some pulverized shiny. So let's get some tin being smashed up here. And for right now, I'm just gonna put this here. That's not what I meant to put down. Whoop. That is. Alright, so we'll throw some tin in the sag mill and just kind of let it go. But after a couple, we'll have the idea here. While that's happening, I'm also going to try and plan this out a little bit. What I want... yeah, let's just do this for now. Come on. I want it to be something that I haven't really put down here yet. stone brick will do. Okay. So probably what we'll have is a pulverizer right here with some sort of buffer system beside it. Yeah, we'll do that. That will input the pulverized materials into that, and that's gonna have to be a high speed pulverizer. And then we'll have a item conduit coming, whatever system I decide to use for exporting, whether it's ME directly or whatever. I might have it all go into a chest, and the chest sort of sorts through this system if I want to auto craft tesseracts and Enderium. So we're gonna have everything pulverized, put in the cyclic assembler, take our tin out to show an example, and the way that you do this is, if you haven't seen it before, you put a schematic, a blank schematic, which is really easy to make, to paper and some blue dye. You put a schematic, a blank schematic, into the schematic slot of the cyclic assembler, and then over here you put in the pieces of what you want to make. Oh. And then you hit the check mark, and it would apply that crafting recipe to that schematic. Now we don't want to do that because we've already got it in there. So we've said dust platinum, dust silver, dust tin, right? So it knows it needs 2 tin, it knows it needs a piece of silver and a piece of shiny metal or platinum. It uses the ore dictionary, thankfully, in case I ever needed to use a different kind, or, you know, not pulverized and maybe industrial craft silver, right? So this is the ore dictionary. And then I put in a bucket of Enderium. So if you look at the recipe for Enderium, oh yeah, I forgot what that was. An Enderium blend. It is a bucket of resonant ender, right? And then 2 tin, silver, and pulverized metal. So that's the crafting recipe I put in here and applied to our schematic. Once you've filled it with a liquid, you don't need to have a bucket in the system. So if you say this took a bucket of water, you would just have to fill it with water and put a bucket of water in the crafting recipe, and it would make that happen using the internal tank instead of using the bucket item. So if we do pulverized tin, silver, I'd really rather wait for the second set of tin to be done. So there's no power coming in. Receiving energy. Is the bottom disabled for some reason? Yeah, it is. Okay. Much better. So that's what's going to happen there. And then the other thing that has to happen, obviously, for a tesseract is it has to be filled with Enderium. So this may actually need to be moved over, unless we put another cyclic assembler or something else right there. There's no other way to fill the tesseract, I don't think. Let's just see here. I wonder if their bags are any better yet. Who knows? Resonant energy cell frame, porta spawner. So tesseract frame can only be filled using the fluid transposer, I believe. Or a casting basin. Interesting. Different. I'm not sure who would ever do that. I guess you wouldn't need these fancy machines. You just need to use... That's actually kind of neat. So yeah, we would need to have this here. And then I also made up a bunch of pyrotheum dust, which is really easy considering we have sulfur and blaze crops and coal crops and redstone crops. So quite easy to get a hold of for us right now. Put them in the item buffer, and then the item buffer is set to only input into this green slot, right? Which will keep this full of blazing pyrotheum. So once this is turned into blend, it will in fact output directly into this and be burned into Enderium. So we'll see here. So this, the last piece, and woo, we'll see it's making a bunch of Enderium. Tons, right? So we still got, it'll make 4 stacks with enough, 1 stack of each piece should make 4 stacks of Enderium. Now, I don't have anywhere for this to go just yet, So why don't we take this other cyclic assembler? Well, hold on. At this time in the pack, we only have a few options for auto crafting. We have the auto crafter from Ender.io, the cyclic assembler, the auto workbench from Buildcraft, which is pretty slow but works without power, but does need piping in and out. And we also have Steve's Workshop, but that requires a power source, and I thought there was an upgrade that allowed it to take RF, and apparently there is not. So you need to pump it with coal and stuff like that as well. That one's not a bad option, or lava. Not a terrible option, but I think what we'll do for now is we'll go ahead and we'll use the cyclic assembler, because they're not hard to make. They do require power, but they are they will receive items, which is great for us. So we'll output, there we go, like that, into the cyclic assembler, and it'll put it into this buffer here. Then what we can do is get some hard, we have some quartz glass, I think. No. Glass. What kind of glass do we have? Oh, you know what? We're out. So the cyclic assembler requires a couple of things. Do I have an obsidian farm crop? I don't remember. Yes. Okay. And lead, I believe. This doesn't require any sand. Oh, but it would have to process that. Trying to think of what my favorite way of doing this is going to be. I think it will be with Ender.io, so we'll get some quartz. Right, and eventually we'll automate this process. Whoop. Let's just pause here and go back. So I still haven't decided if I want this elevators or if I want it to be a chute. If I do a chute, I'll have to add a row of windows somehow onto each floor, which I'm not opposed to, but I'll have to figure out a way of doing that I like. Okay, so I think I have an alloy smelter here. I do. So what we'll do is we'll say alloy smelter here with an item duct, which not explicitly necessary to do it this way. I just like the way this is turning into, like, the feel of it right now. We'll disconnect the item duct from that side. Did we not do that just now? Where is that? Oh, you know what? That's over one. I need that. So I just need this right here, actually. Is that right then? That is right. So disconnect it there and allow it to push out that way. So this is going to be, we'll just give it a separate channel just in case. We'll extract from there. We'll input at the back. Oh, I don't want fluid going into this one though. Fluid we'll say is set to extract, and we'll say once it's empty, if I can. Yep. We'll disable the fluid one here. Okay, then we'll give it an input for the items. Give it brown, input, like so. So I want to say we can do this just for my sake right now. Yeah, fused quartz. So the fused quartz should, oh, it didn't take to the brown. There we go. Okay, perfect. So just for the sake of inventory space right now, this obviously won't be the case later. We're gonna do this with blocks of quartz as opposed to individual pieces, and that way I only have to hold a little bit for a moment. Okay, so we need another schematic. Let's grab one of those real quick. Oh, we're out of paper. Out of paper, out of stock. Oh, that Enderman sound, huh? So this mysterious magnet makes the same sounds as Enderman when it sucks things up, which is one of the reasons I hate it. One of the many reasons I don't like it, actually. And what you're hearing is a sound from a resource pack that I'm using, which I'll explain in a moment, just so I keep my my brain right here. Schematic. Yeah, it's something I haven't really played around with too much, but I really, really am glad I did. Okay, so burnt quartz. That's not good. I want alloys only. That was not helpful. Well, I'm just outright confused then. Can you not use blocks for this? You can, but only one block. Well, that's silly. So that's actually not that helpful, is it? And we can't turn these back. So I'm going to put, let's just do this for my sanity. Make sure it gets this done okay. Woo, not what I wanted. Alright, so we got some burnt quartz. That's fantastic, isn't it? But there's a problem. There's a problem, and I'm timing out. Okay, there's a problem. Oh, nice. It knows that the alloy should only take... That's fantastic. Okay. So it's cruising through. We got a few extra burnt quartz, which isn't ideal. Almost a stack. We could use that later. It's also not a bad looking block. And I'm wondering if it's chiselable. No, it's not. Okay. So this is going to put the extra fused quartz we need in here. So let's make a schematic real quick. Is it like this, I believe? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's backwards, of course. Am I doing this wrong? Am I missing something? A diamond. Of course I need diamonds. I knew that. Tesseract. Alright, so grab some diamonds. Oh, it doesn't save. Okay. Like so. Alright. So that'll make our Tesseract frame. Not bad. And it'll keep that in there, and then we'll output it to this side, which we'll input there. There we go. And we'll be filling up empty Tesseracts with stuff. That's going to drain our Resident Ender resources pretty quickly. So, I have a couple choices. I can... how do I want to do this? V-Space Barrel, Tesseract... I'm not sure. Give me a second. So I think this is probably turning into a convoluted mess that isn't entirely necessary, but I would like a section of this base to have a one-stop shop where you can go through a chain, send items, and have those items produce a Tesseract and come back. It won't be fast right away, but it will be effective. So a crafting recipe will just be like, here, send, if I can get this many things in it, I don't know. So let's just take a toll here. To make a Tesseract, we'll have to send probably 2 or 3 different patterns through an ME autocrafter if that's what I want. So we'll need Let's see, at least for, I don't know. This will actually always keep stocked full of ender pearls, so I don't have to worry about that. So what we'll need is we'll need the shiny, we'll need 2 tin and a silver. So there's 4 items, right? We'll also need to make sure we keep this stocked with blazing pyrotheum. That'll be an always kind of deal. We'll also need the quartz. Maybe I can do the quartz as a quartz glass. I'll think about that, because I'll use this a lot, right? This is the same as hardened glass. But if we use it for quite a few different recipes and things like that, then what I'll do is I'll always have that one on demand in the system, so it'll just call for the quartz glass. Or I'll do it this way and it will send it. So we'll see how that works. Okay, so that's the basis of our Tesseract factory so far. There's two more steps really. There's well, 2 main steps. You then have to craft it into a functional Tesseract, right? Bronze, silver, not that hard to do. Bronze can be made with a crafting recipe, and silver we can just send on over. And then what we'll also need is to make the signalum and craft that up. So for that we'll need another cyclic assembler. Another kind of chain actually just like this, because it needs redstone, tin, copper, like buckets of redstone, sorry, and then you can just cook that up. So we'll have another little bit over here to finalize it. So that's my Tesseract and thermal expansion floor so far. I might change this from a power distribution center to a crafting. Oh no, this will be crafting. This will be auto crafting here. I think the shapeless, the shaped and shapeless auto crafting will be done in here. The rest of it will be done on machine-based floors. Let's talk about this really quick. I was using this item buffer just to kind of keep a good buffer of silicon and redstone in this main crafter, and it worked really well. I had silicon being pressed in here. I put raw silicon, and it would push that down and pull out the other stuff, and then push the pressed stuff in here. Just kind of worked really well. Oh, I did not know these were in here being printed up. We can see that that'll work fine. I gotta bring some more silicon and redstone in here and create a little silicon factory. This won't stay here, and it won't stay like this. Ideally, we will have a advanced inscriber and advanced inscriber, whatever, for each press, and a silicon. So we'll need these 3. Then we'll need 3 silicon inscribers and 3 final inscribers for each different processor. That's my goal for that system. So let's talk about the resource pack, the sound pack that I found. Obviously, I guess it was 1.7 or 1.6 when they made the transition from texture pack to resource pack. I don't really remember, but a while ago Minecraft made that change. Before the resource packs came out, you could have 1 texture pack applied at any time. So if you wanted to have more than one, you kind of had to zip them all up into one big file, and they were kind of a bit more clunky to work with. Now you can have several texture packs applied, and they'll be redundant through the system. So you'll use this texture pack A, and then all the missing textures you can use texture pack B for, and then it'll be vanilla last. And that applies to sound packs as well, or for sound effects. So you can add sound effects into the game. Sphax put out a resource pack that included sound effects and things like that, and so I've used that before. I like it. I hate the creeper explosion noise. It's horrible. Not the explosion so much as the hiss that they've replaced. They don't use the hiss, and it's just awful. So that, in some ways, was in keeping with the trend of creeper noises, but I wasn't a fan of it. But other than that, the rest of the sound effects are pretty good. I'm using a different one that I found. I decided to actually just search for something the other day called Snow Song. So if you look up Snow Song, I'll try to remember to put the link in the description. The Snow Song resource pack includes music and sound effects, all different, and I quite like them. It's quite good, actually. I'm using it on my laptop and my desktop when I play now, which is rare. Usually I have separate setups for each of those just to kind of keep things mixed up. But yeah, I'm really liking this resource pack. It's subtle, but it works. And there's all sorts of different kinds for it, or different things that it comes with and does, and different types that you can download. Different versions of it. Now I'm pretty sure this is like a universal one, even though it says 1.7. It should work with everything. It works with the mods and stuff like that call on vanilla textures or sound effects. I don't think I've heard the creeper sound effect yet. I wonder if we can't hunt down a creeper and see what it sounds like. A couple of things that I have to work on. I need to figure out my tool situation. These are great right now. They're gonna drive me insane very soon though, but I think what I'll do is I'll leave that until I've added practicalities into the pack, and of course we'll go with our imbued system because imbued tools and such are great. The other thing that I need to work on is taking my magical essences and auto creating the ores and processing them, and I think I'm gonna do that on that farm workstation floor. Alright, I see some zombies, I see some skeletons. The other thing that I have to get done is I need to get a wither farm up and running of some sort. What did I just pick? Okay. If I can do that, then I can get some nether stars to apply to my tools and either give them some alternate options, some alternate modifiers, or just more redstone to make them a bit quicker. But that will require me going to the nether and doing some farming. However, I do have this. I want to see something. So let's just go to our lava station real quick here. I caught this guy as a wither skeleton. There is a setting in Ender.io to keep them as they are. So in the nether, they're wither skeletons. But typically what would happen if you were to catch a skeleton in a safari ball and take it to the nether, it should spawn a wither. Yes, perfect, a wither skeleton. So I need to make a wither skeleton farmer because Ender.io actually lets me do that. And I'm wondering what the best way to kill them will be. I'll work on that as a temporary thing. Then we also need to do the division sigil activation, get the pseudo inversion sigil going, all sorts of stuff to do, and continue obviously working on the base. I'm trying to do it over time and progress with it, and it's going pretty well. I've added a few floors here and there between each episode, so that's been good. I also want to decorate it a little bit. I mean, it will just be a hulking monolith, but we can do a bit better than that. I've got some ideas for that, so we'll talk about what that'll look like soon. I think that's gonna be it for this episode, though. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Definitely go check out Snow Song and that sound pack, and also my my first Tea Time with Toasty, a new segment, a new series type thing that I'm doing, where I'm just gonna test out new games on the channel and see which ones you guys want turned into series. And I'm playing Empyrean Galactic Survival is a lot of fun, so check that out. Second episode should be going up tomorrow, and then this should go up the same day or the following after. Not sure yet, but definitely go check those out. There was a lot of fun playing that, and check out that game on Steam as well. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Toasty. Give me a like if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next episode. Deuces.